Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. It is Forest v Man U on Sunday, which is the R4 game. Raf got Dan from Red Devils TV, so hope you are well.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, pal. Thank you for the invite. I'm looking forward to this show.
No worries, Dad. My lecture's just going off. How are you feeling going into the game on Sunday?
To be honest, I'm not as confident as I should be, really, because obviously last night for United we played Seville and we drew 2-2. We conceded the second goal in extra time. And we've got key players that are injured. We've got Martinez, who had to be taken off by a stretcher last night. Rafael Varane got took off at half time. Obviously, Marcus Rashford had a groin injury against Everton. And Luke Shaw as well, who's also been injured in recent times. And Scott McTominay also apparently got injured during training before the Seville game. So United have got a lot of injuries at the moment, which is going to make it a very tough game. I do think that our starting 11 is going to be strong, but it's just the options off the bench that is going to be a struggle. And I think that with Nottingham Forest in this relegation battle, who've also had a week off, they're going to want to they're going to be up for it almost. I think you're going to be up for it, and it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had that joy not having a midweek game where after it being Seville, and lucky enough in one good way that it was a home tie for you guys on last night, so it worked like you have to play it in Seville and come back.
Yeah.
I mean, Rashford this season, even since the World Cup, Rashford just been unbelievable how he has been playing, and his goal scoring record just been out of this world.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Rashford, he had his critics, especially at the start of the season. All eyes were on him, and he was a player that everyone was scrutinising for some reason. People were saying take the money for PSG because apparently they were in for Marcus Rashford. Some people were just saying just put him on the bench or put him in the reserves. It was a lot of fans who seem to be Rashford's biggest fans now were the ones slating him at the start of the season. And I feel like I've always known with Marcus Rashford, especially under the era of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that Rashford and Martial were probably our most important players until we signed Bruno Fernandes. So I've always known with Rashford the quality is there, and I was patient with it because I was like, at some point it's just going to click for Rashford, and he's just going to find himself in the best places at all times and just score after score after score. And then look what's happened. Obviously, at the start of the season, he did struggle, but after the World Cup, he's just been every time he shoots the ball, it ends up in the back of the net. And I mean, he's got 28 goals for us this season, and he is going to be a massive miss. But in my opinion, like I don't want Manchester United to be considered as a one-man team. It's time for other players to step up, in my opinion, and it shouldn't be just down to Marcus Rashford constantly scoring and being the hero almost.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think with Rashford, I mean, with you guys getting Eric Ten Hag this sort of the season, do you feel like that the way Ten Hag want to play? Do you think that impacted Rashford, or do you feel like it needed that World Cup to really kick on?
Yeah, I would honestly say that Eric Ten Hag has a massive influence with the way, not just with Marcus Rashford, with majority of the players this season. He's transformed Marcus Rashford absolutely, and the players he's brought in, like Antony, Lissandro Martinez, Casemiro, he's brought in some really good players. Obviously, Eriksen's up for debate. I'm not really Eriksen's biggest fan because I do think that defensively he's a liability, and I think that when he plays, I think I'm a lot more nervous about losing the midfield battle, especially when it comes to physical teams. But I do think that that Eric Ten Hag has completely. I mean, it just shows as well what an actual proper coach can do to a football club, and you just see the massive improvement. I mean, we had Ralph Rangnick as our interim manager, and the dressing room was completely toxic. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was seen as the nice guy, and it just never seemed to take off with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Even though we finished second, got into a Europa League final, I still think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't the correct man for us. And I'm just happy with Erik ten Hag because for me, he's methodical, he's a stern manager, and what I like in recent times is that when he's made a mistake, he puts his hands up and say, "I've made a mistake here." He takes
Mm,
responsibilities for his own actions, and I feel
mm,
like that's some. I think that's that kind of a good trait to have as a manager because if you're a player and you know you've messed up or something, you know the manager's going to back you and they're not going to scrutinise you publicly because Ralph Rangnick did that last season with the likes of Paul Pogba who wasn't performing. He would
mm.
just say he's not good enough. And he turned around and said that majority of the players need to be sold and stuff. So it just shows what when you have a good manager, it can really impact players mentally and physically almost.
I mean, there was one player that it added really big impact on, and that's Ronaldo. I mean,
Mm.
obviously you could tell um, with Ten Hag what he wanted to do, and Ronaldo didn't really wanted to do it that way. And for Ten Hag to win that mentality battle with him, I mean, showed how good of a manager he is. To be fair,
Say that again, sorry.
now to saying about Ten Hag with that like manager versus player power, like Ten
Yeah.
Hag won that battle with him, and it took to when Ronaldo made that um, mistake with going on Pace Morgan channel to for Ten Hag to get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really hurt me because with Ronaldo is that I know that he's an absolute legend of the game. I mean, I didn't really get to watch him at Manchester United at a young age because I was only a baby. But I've grown up watching Ronaldo and Messi during Barcelona versus Real Madrid, and I've mainly got to see him in his prime when he was just leaving Real Madrid, when he was at Juventus. I mean, I personally put Ronaldo as the GOAT, but obviously some people prefer Messi. But I think that as well is that it's not also down to Ronaldo and Messi. It's also down to the fact that these are two players that are going to be remembered for the rest of the football in history, in my opinion. But with Ronaldo, it's the fact that I think that with Cristiano Ronaldo, it was kind of like a snowball effect because as soon as Cristiano Ronaldo did that interview talking about like how much the club was a mess and stuff, literally within 2 weeks to 4 weeks, the Glazers put the club up for sale. And
Mm,
because the amount of scrutiny they got, I think Ronaldo knew that he wasn't going to succeed at Manchester United, so he took himself out of the equation. But by going live on Piers Morgan and telling everything telling the world what was wrong with Manchester United, it also made the Glazers panic and it put a lot of pressure on them. And I think that's what Ronaldo has done. I think the club was still in his heart while he was in that interview, but he just wanted to get out of there at the same time.
mm. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about was lace, but yeah, I completely agree with that. If it weren't for Ronaldo to do what he did, yeah, fair enough, he might have lost his contract with Manu, but then it worked out for you guys because now the Glazers want well want to sell up and they want to move on now. So in a way, it's you lost probably one of the best players in the world and a legend, but you finally might be getting rid of the Glazers.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like I think you can see you probably find a load of tweets from like 2021 or 2000 at the start of the season and stuff, and people just saying is like, even though I love Ronaldo, if you could take Ronaldo out of the team to get rid of the Glazers, everyone would do it.
Mm,
And it just shows that the Glazers as well that around 2 weeks ago our financial reports came out and they've took even more money out of the club and put us in even more debt, and it's just ridiculous at this point. I mean, like, and now they're putting through at the third stage of bids and stuff, so now it's going to postpone and go even longer. So at this point it's looking like the actual summer for the start of next season could be ruined almost because the Glazers haven't sold up yet. I mean,
mm,
they were offered a lot of money, and I just don't know why they don't take it now. Obviously, they want to try and get as much money for the club as possible. But when they bought the club on debt and they're making almost 100% profit, even more than that, almost they're making so much more money. They're making billions and billions of pounds. It's ridiculous in my opinion, and the Glazers just need to go. That's all it is really. You could get
Yeah.
like anyone really, just anyone who's a competent owner who wants to win, and that's where we are. But I think it's just the Glazers out. I'm not going to get my Norwich scarf out because that's in my wardrobe, but it's just one of them where you already know the answer. Everyone says the same thing, that they just want the Glazers out.
Mm. That's the thing, because obviously with most of the United fans made the FC United Manchester back when they did, and obviously with everything what has gone off, I mean, I can imagine how you guys are feeling, to be fair, because we had it with Forest for 5 years, and 5 years was just enough. Not like how you what you lot been through from, like, how long has it been? 16, 17 years.
Something like that, yeah. All I remember is that I was in nappies when the Glazers took over. So, but yeah, it's been a long time. I think it's about 17, 18 years though. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, how how do you guys how do you feel about Man United finishing the season, especially with how well you guys have done, and especially winning Carabao Cup, and how Ten Yard, especially at the sort of season you had. Do you think this is a better season than you thought?
100%. I what so this is the first season I've actually done like YouTube and fan content and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And I watched my first video back a few days ago, and I was cringing so much at it. But I gave my Premier League predictions, and I gave United sixth place. And I said that
Mhm.
I went, if Eric Ten Hag can just get us playing well and maybe go and deep into a trophy or possibly even win a trophy or maybe just scrape top four, then I would put that as an achievement, whether it's just a trophy or just top four or just playing better football, because that's how low we were as Manchester United fans. But he's already won the League Cup, and top four is ours to lose almost. We're currently, I think we're third place or fourth place. I don't know with the Newcastle goal difference, but at the end of the day, we're exceeding expectations. Is my opinion, and I think that it's like when you see Arsenal fans on Twitter and they go, "Oh, I expected us to be in a title race this season." You're chatting, mate. You're absolute nonsense. Like less than a year ago, you had your Arteta shirts printed, like your Arteta out shirts printed all over your chest, and you were screaming for him to be out when he dropped a Bamiyang. Like Arsenal fans have very fake memories, but I'm not trying to cause any issues with Arsenal fans. But you know, I just think that yes, Eric Ten Hag has done miles better than what I ever thought he would be doing, and I this season I expected to be probably next season at the start of the season. I said in my prediction for thing, I was like, if United can challenge for top four, and then the following season, then we can try and secure top four. That's where like the right step in the right direction. But I mean, he's completely blown us out the water. Hopefully, we're playing Champions League football next season, and it's just onwards and upwards. Hopefully,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Forest Man U played 3 times already this season, and
yeah,
all of them came after the World Cup. I mean, Man United, I think like 8 goal difference, and we hadn't even scored against you guys. Well, the offside goal.
yeah.
How? I mean, what do you think could happen on Sunday?
Um, you see, I think it might go a lot like the game last night for United, where United dominate in the first half, and we might get one goal, we might get two goals. But I think that as the game goes on and the team gets weaker by the substitutions, that's when United might drop off. And I do think my score prediction is 2-1 tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Sunday. I forget what day it is,
Yeah,
but
it's,
yeah, but I do think that United need to be careful of Brennan Johnson because I've looked at him this season, and I mean, I think he's got 10 goals in the Premier League this season.
yeah,
Is that right? Yeah. So he's a very dangerous player, and if he targets United left hand side, which is going to consist of either Maguire or Lindelof as the centre backs or Malacia, I think that's where Nottingham Forest might be able to like get something out of this result. If they target that left hand side, then I
mm,
think that United can struggle because I do think that Malacia is a decent player, but last night he was absolutely appalling.
mm,
Maguire, I just feel very nervous when he's in the team. I do think he's a decent player, but he isn't my favourite. Let's say, but I feel like that when Harry Maguire is in the team, United struggle a lot more because we can't be aggressive, we can't play that high line, and for me, it's consisting of who Eric Ten Hag partners up with Harry Maguire. Because if you've got Maguire and Lindelof, who aren't very fast fullbacks, do you go for the likes of Wan-Bissaka, who's a defensive fullback, to help with that cover? Or do you play Diogo Dalot, who's an attacking fullback, who can help the press and go forward? And hopefully that might be able to move us up the pitch. And it's very confusing one. But I'd honestly say that your key players in this game are probably going to be Brennan Johnson and probably Gibbs White, because I think that they're off the top of my head, they're the players that would be the most dangerous in this type of game.
yeah, definitely. I mean, Brendan Johnson, their partnership has blossomed this season. I mean, there was the Leicester game and the Bournemouth game where them two and so was that the focal point for that the triangle to be fair, and yeah, I completely agree. And especially if you do play Harry Maguire, I mean, with his lack of pace and Brennan's, I mean, if Brennan plays off his um, shoulder, Brennan could win quite a few times.
Yeah. I mean, with Brennan Johnson, I mean, I know I went to the game at the Old Trafford leg in the Carabao Cup,
Mm,
and Brennan Johnson, even when he was against Luke Shaw and Martinez, he still got through us once or twice. And he's very quick and he likes to drop his shoulder. But it just seems that with the type of Brennan Johnson, he seems to be really confident with both feet. Obviously, he is preferred with his right foot, but he
mm,
is confident on his left as well. And I think when he drops his shoulder, it's not like Anthony at United, who drops when you know Anthony drops his shoulder, you always know he's going to go on that left hand side. With Brennan Johnson, he can go left or right, and it can
yeah,
catch out defenders. So with United being a lot weaker than we have in our previous fixtures against you this season, I do think that Nottingham Forest could do something against us, and I am going to go for a 2-1 victory for United. But I'm not saying that it's going to be an easy game at all.
yeah, definitely. There's one player that I wanted to talk about is Jesse Lingard because obviously former United player, um, obviously went out and loaned to West Ham and that, and obviously with what happened with him last season, back in the last season, under Ralph and how the board kept him. I mean, how do you feel about Lingard?
For me, Lingard was. We should have sold Lingard after his loan spell at West Ham because, I mean, he got Player of the Month when he was at West Ham. He was absolutely on fire, and he looked like a different player almost. But then United kept on to him, used him as a bench player, and he played. I think it was not even 16 games last season for us. It
Mm,
was, and I rate Lingard, but when you're competing with the likes of Bruno Fernandes, you're not going to get in that team.
mm,
And Lingard, it reminded me a bit like Dean Henderson, almost, where
yeah.
he has this ego about him, where he is a very good footballer because he is, but he wanted to be the first teamer because obviously he's a United fan and he wants to lead his team to glory, but there's just better players in his way. And I thought that after the loan spell at West Ham, West Ham. I mean, they did come in for him. They offered about 30 million, but United wanted about 40 for him, which was ludicrous,
Oh
and West
wow.
Ham refused to play it. Because if you remember, when Jesse Lingard played for West Ham, he got Premier League Player of the Month as well at one point. So I mean, and he was scoring for fun. He was absolutely brilliant. That midfield trio of Souček, Declan Rice, and Lingard was
Mm.
brilliant. But when when Lingard left, I wasn't emotional about it. I thought it was the right thing to do because it was the same with like Paul Pogba as well. These players that have been rumored to be leaking dressing room rumors and stuff and leaking it to the press. I didn't want that type of player in my club, honestly. And I do rate Lingard a lot. He has scored some very important goals for us this season. I mean, I remember last season, sorry, he scores like the winning goal against West Ham almost, and then he actually puts his hands up to and not celebrates because I think he's shown that he actually liked the West Ham crowd. But when I saw him go to Nottingham Forest, I was like, you know what? I'm actually happy with that because he actually gets to go to a Premier League side. I do like Lingard, and I do
Mm.
think that. Well, at the start of the season, I did think that Lingard could probably be a starter for you, but obviously it's clear that he can't get in your team.
Yeah, he came to us with a bit of a Achilles injury, and apparently played on it first couple of games, and he could tell he wasn't himself, and it took him a very long while to get that match fit. And when we sort of see like the real Jesse Lingard, it was just before the World Cup,
Yeah,
and he had just had that week when we played Brentford Spurs in the cup, and I think Palace. We've seen the Jesse Lingard that got him that player of the month for West Ham, and I thought, oh, we got a player coming now. And when
yeah,
we came back after the World Cup, he got injured straight away, and it was like it just not really featured as much as I wanted him to be.
yeah. Would you offer him a contract extension, or would you let him go? Because I know he's only on a 1 year contract, isn't he?
Um, I'll be honest, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with my head more because I would love him to stay, and I would love him to prove why we got him last summer. But I think because of injuries and how much he is on and that, I wouldn't just because of purely his fitness.
Yeah,
Um, don't get me wrong, what he has done for like socials, and you can see his enthusiasm and that for the club. I mean, when if you watch like anything on the socials, or when you watch like when the match day passing or like what Forest do, you can see that enthusiasm and what he does. But it just footballing terms, he's not really done it for me.
yeah. I understand that, and that's why I wanted to ask you because I by speaking, I've only spoken to a handful amount of Forest fans, and they have pretty much all said the same as you about how like he's a good player, but obviously due to injuries and the amount of money he's on, he's not really worth keeping.
Mm,
But I do think though that Jesse Lingard probably knows that himself, and I think this is the time where Jesse Lingard probably needs to step up when he plays, when he gets the chances and plays for yous,
mm,
because I think that Jesse Lingard knows that he's probably not with a club next season. So if he wants to impress someone, he needs to start performing. So
mm.
when he gets them chances, he needs to act delivering.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like with Dean Henderson, like when we signed him, I thought, oh, what a top class
Oh,
Premier League goalkeeper we got.
oh,
Yeah, you see there. Oh, oh, uh, pardon?
what's going on? What's going on?
Ah, I got you back now.
Can you hear me now? You
Yeah,
got me
yeah, I can
back.
hear
Right,
you.
perfect. Bloody hell.
Yeah,
Right, go on, Karen. What were you saying?
yeah.
Sorry.
I just said about Dean Henderson, like when we signed him, I thought, oh, what a top class goalkeeper we got. Like, yeah, fair enough, not starting from Man U, but you can tell he's been how he's been like nurtured and that he is a top class goalkeeper, and some of the penalty saves and some of the saves he has made this season, I'm like, wow, why ain't he not first choice? And then what really won me over with Hendo was that passion against Wolves. I mean, when we beat them in the quarterfinals, like it was just doing mental, like, and you can see that passion and that, and I think to myself, why ain't he in England squad?
I do think though with Dean Henderson is that he's a very good goalkeeper, but I think I think he probably thinks that he's like I don't even know, just like prime Buffon or something. I just don't know where
Mm,
he gets this confidence from. And obviously, you want your goalkeeper to have a lot of confidence. But when Dean Henderson would play for Manchester United, I would notice that he would make incredible acrobat saves that
mm,
were like the hard saves he always seemed to make, but the simple saves where he was going low to ground or a quick shot stopping or something, that's where he'd like annoy me and concede a goal. And obviously when you're playing for a team like Sheffield United, where he did a few seasons ago, and then Nottingham Forest, like he's going against teams that are going to be having a lot of shots at him. So that's when he's looking good. And I do think that he is a very good goalkeeper, but for me, I don't want him at United.
mm,
But again, like you said, he's a very good goalkeeper. I've not never denied that. But I
mm.
honestly think that when you've got the likes of Jordan Pickford as England number one, I don't think Jordan Pickford should be England's number one. But then you've got Aaron
Same here.
Ramsdale who's in a title winning side this season.
Mm,
And you've also got Nick Pope, who's absolutely outstanding.
mm.
It's going to be tough for you to get in that squad, and obviously Dean Henderson's international career is probably going to be only a one or two caps, unfortunately,
Mm.
because I do think he's a good goalkeeper. But again, it comes back to that debate where when there's better players in front of you, that you're going to miss out, and that's just the way football works because you want to have your best players.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more on that one. They were say about your Red Devils TV and your socials.
Seconds, yeah. So this is my YouTube channel is called Red Devils TV. I pretty much do daily Manchester United content. I am gonna start live streaming soon. So if you know any United fans who want to subscribe, then yeah, please subscribe. And then I also have a TikTok, which is also Red Devils TV. And then same with my Twitter, it's just Red Devils TV and then MUFC because the Red Devils TV was taken for some reason.
Yeah, it's cool. Thank you for coming on anyway.
Yeah,
It's
I appreciate it.
do hit the subscribe for Red Devils TV if you like to hear what Dan has said today on today's video when I get my words out. So I'd like to say thank you for watching guys and goodbye.